I've been asked to comment about Mr. Matalanga, Henry Nerima Matalanga. Personally, I held him in high esteem. I treated him as a blood relative. Actually, some police officers, used to even call me Matalanga Jr. Let me say quickly that the reason why some police officers used to call me Matalanga Jr. is that when Matalanga was transferred to Wajir as the overall police commander, he took over from my father. So people used to know that I was the son of the Wajir OCPD, and they could interchange the names. The history of Henry Nerima Matalanga. He was born at a place called Mlambo, very part of Butere town. Actually, Mlambo from Butere police station is like Kenyatta National Hospital to Adams Arcade. During his young days, he was a footballer and even joined the Abaluya Football Club, which today is called AFC Leopards. At the same time, he joined the police and was a police officer, at the same time a player of AFC Leopards, which was then called Abaluya. He wasn't known, in the 11, a few are known, not all of them. So he was there during Joe Kadenge's time and Jonathan Neva's time. I can place him younger than Joe Kadenge, but older than Jonathan Neva. Or he could even be an age mate of Jonathan Neva. He grew up, professionally he grew up in Nairobi because of playing for AFC Leopards. And he rose through the ranks up to the inspectorate. And when he was an inspector, whenever there was a football match, we didn't have all these other stadiums. We only had City Stadium. Remember, Nyayo Stadium and Moi Kasarani came during Moi's time. So we only had City Stadium. And these other smaller stadiums, these mega stadiums came a bit later. And when he was a member of the inspectorate, of course he had stopped playing football. And whenever there was a match, he would be the one to control the security there. Back to the days when he was playing for AFC Leopards, they went to play in Lome in Togo. When they went to play in Togo, the funds that he was given, the allowances, are the ones that he bought a plot and constructed a business place and called it Togoland. So if you come from a place called Butere and wonder why his place is called Togoland, is that during the allowances that he received on the trip to Togo, he constructed that place. Still on Togoland, when you build a small Kashopia and whatever, and then later you expand it. He expanded that into, it was a bar. I believe Togoland is still a bar. Later he expanded and constructed lodging rooms there. And in every bar lodging, there are different lodgings, so that when you pay, you are told go to room this, you go to room this. He, as I said, he took over from my father as the overall police boss in Wajir. That was January 1993. So when he constructed later lodgings in that bar, each lodging he named them after an area in Wajir. We nowadays call them sub-counties. So you'd find a room called Gorar, Bute, Buna, Habaswein, Wajirbor, you name it. He named them that. But his office, that place, he named that office Lorient Swamp. Lorient Swamp is found between Habaswein and Wajir town. Now, I talked of when he became an inspector and a chief inspector, and then in 1973 he was made a superintendent and went to Wajir to be an OCPD. He became a senior superintendent in Wajir and came back to, after completing his tour of duty, he came back to Nairobi, now as an SSP in charge of Operation Nairobi area. He was in charge of operations in Nairobi area when he was an assistant commissioner of police. So he spent quite a long time, all his time when he was a senior superintendent and all his time when he was an assistant commissioner, he was in charge of operations in Nairobi. Then he was promoted to be a senior assistant commissioner of police and made the provincial police officer northeastern. That was around 1989. 1989, when he would visit Mandera, that is when I used, we used to meet. We didn't have an officer's mess, but we used to convert the OCPD's house temporarily to be an officer's mess. So all members of inspectorate and above, we could meet there. Those members of inspectorate who were in Mandera, we could meet there, keep him busy, so and so. But I was a different type of an inspector, because whenever I talked to him, it was the relationship of an uncle and a nephew. So you'd find any hard questions that members of inspectorate wanted to shoot to him, I used to be given those questions. And of course, at a price of a beer when he has gone back. I know a few members of the family of Matalanga. He had 3 or 4 widows. One has died. I know he had sons of my age, but the truth be told, allow me to be sincere about him beyond certain limits. Matalanga, before going to Northeastern, he had worked briefly in Coast. I don't know in what capacity, maybe as a deputy PP or something. And Matalanga would use a police chopper to go to Coast, bring 2 young female. Then whenever he would come to Mandera, he would be with them. It was something that I want to share with you because it was so unique. It happened this way, that the 3 of them shared 1 bedroom. Me, I've had it, although I never entered that bedroom, but it was obvious what happened there. And during daytime, I was given an off and plenty of money. So there's an army camp. There was an army camp at a place called Kalalio where I would go there. The officer in charge, who was a major, would be told that Inspector Huatenge is coming with two young girls, and so I would go and entertain them at the officers' mess. We would we would drink, we would do whatever. They were, but you see, a young man of my age then, a lot of things would happen in their mind. But to me, two things happened. That is the time when I used to worship alcohol. And I also knew that in police, kushika demu ya mkubwa, you will know the remotest parts of Kenya. Loyangalani, anywhere. No, and when I talk Loyangalani, I don't mean Loyangalani ya Kajiado. There is Loyangalani ya huko Marsabit. You'll be taken to funny places and you'll regret even just winking at her. So I know later on he could ask them, huyo ni brother mzuri sana, ametuki vizuri. Somehow these ladies used to think the money was mine because I tell, eat and drink anything you want, and I would even taste the best beer there. You know, there is this army drinks that we used just to see, but that occasion, and I was not a young man like today. You see, a young man of today would spend 2 shillings and hide 3 and account for 5. So Matalanga was doing that during the time when he was in Mandera. And he was a kind-hearted person to those people. I also used to talk to him about his officers. You can remember when he was in Mandera, this is how my day would start. I would leave my house, of course with a hangover. I didn't even report to the office. I would go to the OCPD's place. I can't remember the OCPD, but I remember he was a Luo. I would arrive, and for once he would forget that he's an SSP, and he would forget that I'm an inspector, and he would humbly tell me that your uncle huko juu na wageni wake hawajaamuka, ngoja kidogo, kaa hapo. And you see, for an SSP to tell an inspector that, stay there, how was the day? I say, then the nanny would come with a towel, but say, hi, I would know. The SSP would stand at attention. Morning sir, ulilala vizuri, sijui nini, umbu zilikusumbua. But me, I would just greet him, hi uncle, and he'd say, Kwatenge. From there, the OCPD and him would go to the official. Now, you know, he's a PPO visiting Mandera. They would take a vehicle, go to other places. Mandera is to the extreme east. They would go to Takaba, Banisa, Sumbur Fatuma, Elwak, Dif. No, Dif is in Wajir. Warged. They would visit all those places. Meanwhile, I would be teeming with money. I would take these girls to Bulahawa in Somalia. They would do all the type of shopping. Then they would come back, place the things at the... You know, they have come with their money. They have been given money by him, and I've also been given money by him to entertain them. Then we would go, they would do their shopping. They would even urge me, nasi ununue kitu yako moja ama nini. And women are funny because every sentence, every 10 to 15 minutes, I would mention my wife. That is marking my boundaries. And the way they would dress. Hey. So from there we would go to Bulahawa, they would buy all those sort of things. We would then go to Malkasade, Malkasuftu. Malkasuftu. They are in Ethiopia. In Somalis called estates Bula. Bula Jamuria, Bula Pesa. The Somalis call places Bula. But Ethiopians call Malka, or Boranas call Malka. So there's Malkasade, Malkasuftu. Masai is called Boma. Boma ya Oloitiptip, Boma ya Sunkuli. So I could take them to Ethiopia, to Malkasuftu. We would drink like hell, come back, whatever. Then he would go. Some of these things are very personal, but some of these things are happened, and it is not an exaggeration. So if a family member of Nerima Matalanga comes across it, please understand. Maybe my father also did that, but he didn't do it before me. So your father didn't do it before you. But generally, he was a kind-hearted person. I'm even made to understand that his death had to, these are, you remember me talking about a politician who, his was not Viagra, but it has something to do with escapades. Thank you.